All right, good morning. It is either Thursday, October 1st, or Friday, October 2nd when you're watching this video. First of all, I want to say thank you for all of your hard work for the sub this week. I've had a pretty good report from the sub, and I know a lot of you have taken some time and gotten some much needed work caught up. And thank you for that. So I want to start this video with just getting right into it and talking more about our third type of government, which is monarchy. So when we are going over this, I want you to have a pencil out at the very least. And if you have a highlighter, you can get that out as well. So the sub has a paper for you that looks like this. If he hasn't passed it out to you yet, maybe pause the video and remind him, but he knows to give it to you. This paper is for you to keep. Please don't pass it back in, right? You can keep it in a folder. I figured initially when I was planning on doing this, I thought I would be there with you and that we could take a break from Chromebooks. Sometimes it's just nice to have a good old piece of paper with the information that you need to know. So what I want you to do, while I am walking through this slideshow, and some of it might be information that you've seen a bit if you've started on this week's work, but while I'm walking through it, I want you to either underline or highlight the main ideas and the important facts about monarchy. So this form of government is actually the oldest of the three major forms, meaning you've got democracy, dictatorship, monarchy, and monarchy is the oldest. This first probably came about, this type of government, when one strong leader took over control of an area, declared themselves leader, they died, gave power to their kid, and hence you have a monarchy. In ancient Egypt, for example, the pharaoh could be considered a monarch. So in a monarchy, the right to rule belongs to a monarch. A monarch might be called a king, a queen, an emperor, a sultan. In ancient Egypt, they were called pharaohs. In Russia, they were called czars. How does a monarch attain their leadership? This is a really important characteristic of monarchy. Again, I would definitely be highlighting or underlining this part, but a monarch comes into power by inheriting it. What does it mean if you inherit something? That means something is passed down in your family. So really, you are only a leader in a monarchy if you are born into the royal or ruling family and power comes from your parents. Monarchs maintain their power then, meaning they keep their power. We say it's through a tradition of allegiance. I always teach students to think of the Pledge of Allegiance. That's why I have this clip art here for you. When you pledge allegiance to the flag in our country, you're pledging to be loyal to the country. That's what citizens in a monarchy do. They're pledging to be loyal to the royal family. Citizens believe the royal family has a right to rule, and they pledge to obey and protect the leaders. Now, the person controlling the powers of government, it's going to depending on the type of monarchy that is in place. There are two types of monarchies. There's an absolute monarchy and there's a constitutional monarchy. They have some similarities, but overall, they're two very different types of government. So an absolute monarchy is the oldest of the two. In an absolute monarchy, the monarch is all powerful. He or she ultimately controls all powers of government. Think about that word absolute. When things are absolute, that's not always a good thing. So the monarch, the king, has absolute total power in an absolute monarchy. That being said, it's unlimited. So if you think of your other unlimited form of government that you've learned about, you have dictatorship, and now you have absolute monarchy. So they're very similar in a lot of instances. In some absolute monarchies, there may be a group of lawmakers called legislators that are appointed by the king or maybe even elected by the people, but the ultimate power rests with the king or the queen in charge. On your paper, you're going to see a little spot to make a picture. This is a picture that I always think of. I think of the Queen of Hearts screaming out, "You must obey." Maybe my picture will inspire you. I have a little comic strip that makes me think of an absolute monarchy with this guy saying, "Your new press secretary, sire." He's walking to the king saying, "Wow, you're not as tall as I thought you'd be." And the king, "Nor as forgiving as you thought I'd be," throws him in jail. That's, obviously a little extreme. It's a cartoon, but that's that concept in an absolute monarchy of the king or queen having total absolute power. There is a video. This video is actually in the website that's posted in the Google Classroom already. If you have not gone to that website, I recommend that you go to it like as soon as we're done with this. And this video is at the bottom of the website. So the second newer type of monarchy is called a constitutional monarchy. Think of the word constitution to remember this. When I think of a constitution, I think of a country like the United States. A constitution is a set of laws designed to protect people and citizens' rights. So in a constitutional monarchy, it's much more like a democracy. The monarch, the king or queen, is still there, but they're really there as a ceremonial head of state. What that means is they don't control any powers of the government. They're there because they've always been there. And the people might, like the citizens of the country, might like the idea of a royal family, but the royal family doesn't have a lot of powers to make decisions for government. In fact, the powers of government are controlled by a legislature. Some, if not all of the leaders in that legislature might even be elected by the people, like in a democracy. It's a limited form of government because the powers of all leaders are limited by a constitution or other laws. So all leaders, even the king or queen in a constitutional monarchy, can't just go off the rails and do whatever they want. In most cases, this type of monarchy works a lot like a democracy and may even be labeled as a democracy. So the picture I think of on your paper, there's a spot to put a picture. I think of this one. It's a crown and then that ball and chain with law. That king or queen, they are limited. They share their power. They don't, in fact, have a lot of true power. I wanted to find another cartoon for constitutional monarchy. And this is, a king saying, "Hey, I just wrote up a new constitution, all in favor." But really, it's that idea that the king or queen does not have total power. They're limited by laws. There's groups of people that help to make the laws that were elected a lot of times by the citizens. This video, too, is on the website that is in the Google Classroom. If I was there with you, we would have gone over perhaps the most well-known constitutional monarchy and queen, and that is what is in place in Great Britain under Queen Elizabeth II. So if you look at this family tree way up top here, here's Queen Elizabeth II. She's very famous. She is older now. She's in her 90s, and she is married. Her husband is still alive. His name is Philip. He's a duke. And this is a unique case, too, because the royalty is on her side. He is royal now, but by marriage. So if you follow the family tree, you can kind of follow the line of succession. So in reality, it's Charles, the firstborn, who will be the next king, the next leader. And then you can follow it down. Charles has 2 children, William and Harry. You might have heard of these people. They're in like magazines, articles. They're on the news a lot. And then after William, it'll be his oldest son that would be heir to the throne. And then again, you see Harry, and then he married actually an American, Harry and Meghan. And they actually live in the United States now, but they now have a son, Archie. So you can see all of these people, though, when you hear the word royal, these would all be considered members of the royal family. Queen Elizabeth is actually queen over something called the Commonwealth realm. So really, she's technically the queen over all of these countries, or at least has a ceremonial role. So that's one example of a very popular constitutional monarchy, but what are the responsibilities of citizens that live within a monarchy? They're expected to be loyal to the monarch. Citizens are also expected to do what they would be expected to do in any country: pay taxes, serve in the military if they're being asked to do so. And in any country, you have to follow the laws. In a constitutional monarchy, there would be that added responsibility of electing representatives to make laws and run the government. So just like in a democracy, they're expected to be informed voters and play a role in that process. In an absolute monarchy, this is more like a dictatorship. They're expected to follow any commands or rules given by the king or queen without question. So that's where I am stopping with my slideshow on monarchy. But if you have been following along on your paper, which looks like this, you would be on the back of your paper at the bottom. And so this chart right here, this is just giving you some characteristics of monarchy, kind of like boiling it all down. So they're in bigger boxes because I intended on having you draw pictures to help you remember each of those characteristics. Stick figures are fine. They don't have to be colored. Once you've done that, you can put this paper right in your folder or in your book bag. And then if you are done with all of your social studies work, you're going to come to this Google form. This Google form is a self-checking Google form. It won't let you go forward unless you get the answer right. And the tricky part is the spelling has to be correct. So make sure if you look up here, all answers should be one word written in lowercase letters. And this is actually, you're going to use the website that I have already posted in the Google Classroom, but I also linked it up here. This website, if you haven't looked at it, make sure you look at it. And if you have looked at it, go back and look at it again. There's all the information you need to know about monarchy is in this website. Important vocabulary is off to the side. Those video clips that I talked to you guys about, those are at the bottom. You can watch those. But you're going to find the answers for this Google form right there in that website. So if you're done with everything, you're going to move on to this Google form. Those of you who are done with everything, finish the Google form. I'll give you credit somehow for doing that. If you are not done with all of your work, then you need to take this time to get some of that missing work done. So I'm going to go to the slideshow that's posted and just kind of remind you over what you should be doing in class today. Okay, you've watched the video, we're at the end of it. Okay, you've highlighted and underlined important information on the paper. You're drawing pictures on that paper to help you remember monarchy. If you have no missing assignments, you're doing that self-checking Google form. If you have missing work, you're doing the missing work. And that also includes if you turned in an assignment that's out of 10 points and you got a 2 out of 10, you need to go and get those points. If you finish everything, there's still that government escape room that I'll have posted. You can work on that. I've only had one student email me a screenshot from the last task. And if you get that far, you'll see fireworks on the screen. You can work on other assignments for the week. And I'll show you those in just a minute. Actually, I'll show you those right now. So the other assignments for the week are posted right in my Google Classroom. And I have noticed that it still looks like quite a few of you need to do this work. So underneath today's agenda, you're going to see current week. This is what I'm going to be grading come the end of the week. So hopefully you've taken the time to watch my to-do list announcements. Again, you notice that part of this week was designed for catching up on work. It's number 3 that you're going to see, first of all, 2 things, that website and then a slideshow. What I decided to do this week was put most of your work for monarchy in one area. Last week, I tried it with multiple different small assignments. This week, I thought, let's just combine it into one slideshow. So you need to turn in one slideshow. There's a Venn diagram. There's a part for you to draw pictures to help you remember absolute and constitutional monarchy. And then there's some examples of monarchy that you're going to read, highlight characteristics of monarchy, and then answer questions. This slideshow, this is due by Sunday night at midnight. The final thing that is due by Sunday night at midnight is posted in the Google Classroom, and it's a graded review in Edulastic. It looks like 24 of us have done that, but there's still many more that need to work on it. So last thing, we come back here, a few reminders. Remember, I'm not sure if the other teachers have told you yet, but midterms, we are already halfway through the first trimester. Midterms are at the end of the week. If you are failing social studies by then, you will get a letter mailed home, a phone call home, maybe both. So make sure that you are not failing. Get that work turned in. Email me, comment in the Google Classroom with questions. I'll try to respond, but give me time. Behave for the sub. You've been doing great so far, so let's finish the week strong. This week's a little different. That weekly work that I just showed you is due Sunday at midnight. But like every week, I'm going to post your work for next week. Will still be posted on Monday. And on my to-dos, I will put the topics that we'll be working on in class next week. My hope is that I can be back with you guys hopefully on Tuesday. At the very latest Wednesday. My son can be back in school on Wednesday, but I am hoping that I will be able to be with you guys on Tuesday, that I have someone else who can care for Oliver, my husband, on Tuesday, hopefully. So let me know if you have any questions. Finish the week strong. Get that missing work turned in if you have any. If you don't have missing work, keep up the good work. And let me know if you need anything. All right, guys, miss you. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.